have heard this before, but American Mining Congress, founded in 1897, what mining means to Americans. Most people pass their days with no thought of the role of mining plays in their lives. They know where to buy things they want, but seldom consider the origins. Food comes from a grocery store, electricity from a wall socket, tools from a hardware store, cars from a dealer, appliance from a department store, and so on. If we do think of how these things are created, many of us probably begin with farms, factories, and power stations. In fact, they all begin with mining. Without minerals, we could not till our soil, build our machines, supply our energy, transport our goods, or maintain any society beyond the most primitive. Our horn of plenty starts with a hole in the ground. We are in trouble if we forget that. I think this is even more relevant today. I mean, it's always been relevant, but it's even more of a thing now with all the solar power and everything. Let's go green. What do you need to go green? You need the minerals from the ground. So I try to remind people of that. It always shocks me the number of adults that don't realize that you need these minerals to have your cell phone. And then they yell at us about all that mining and at us. And I'm like, but did you want that? And then they think for a second, and then they go yell at somebody else. Come on. It's trying. There it goes.
Wow,
So there's a few things. We've been having technical difficulties all morning.
I can just change it.
Or we can just put it up here and I can change it as well so you don't have to stand back here. Yeah. I think this computer might almost be older than the computer that I use at work, which is shocking. So our mission at the World Museum of Mining that we try to live our work day to day to meet is to preserve the rich historical legacy of mining and the related culture of Butte, Montana and the surrounding region, and to promote the significant mining heritage by educating the public with a perspective toward total family interest. So every project that we jump into and everything that we do, we try to think of our mission. When we were putting together the idea of the Mining Heritage Center back in 2018, which I'll talk about that here in a few minutes, there were three things that came out of what we're trying to do that came from our mission. And so this really kind of narrows down that mission a little bit, and if you follow us on social media and stuff, you'll see that quite a bit. But of course, our main thing that we work on is we preserve the past with thousands and thousands of photographs, thousands and thousands of artifacts, plus all the exhibits, preserving that past and sharing that story. One of the things that we wanted to really start to dive into with the Mining Heritage Center and with the importance that mining plays in our lives today is to promote the present. It became obvious to us that we wanted to also share the story of the mining companies today, which is part of the reason if you haven't been to the museum since last year, we have a new exhibit in our gift shop that was generously done by Montana Resources, a great exhibit on what they're currently doing and their involvement in the community. We also have Red Path, which is a consulting company that provided some great canvas photos for us that are in our hallway now. Our current mining portal that shows some of the current activities. And it shows the progression that the mining industry has made when you go out and you look in our mine yarding and then you come and look to see what we have in there. As we move on to the Mining Heritage Center, we have dedicated an area of that exhibit space to the current mining, but we wanted to share that story earlier. And then finally, of course, what we want to do is we want to educate the future. David can attest, we had about 45 young students there today. Yesterday, I think there were about 80 students at the museum, and this is one thing that we continue to try to do is educate the future. There is a learning center in our Mining Heritage Center that is part of Phase 2 plan, so that we can bring back the education program. I'm not sure how many, I've been with the museum since 2010. I was hired on as the education director. In 2015, I became the director, and I've been the director since. Unfortunately, the education program for the kids kind of went by the wayside for a while. mostly because we don't have an area to teach them. Being outside in Butte, because the weather is so unpredictable, makes it really difficult without the indoors, and we're trying to bring that back. We still have a few plans. We're hoping to bring back kind of a curatorial program this summer a little bit with some of the high schoolers. There's a trial run on Friday that Kim, our assistant director, is doing. So we're hoping to bring that back and continue to fuel the passion. There's a lot of students out there that are really loving history right now. So we want to fuel that passion and keep them going. Speaking of preserving the past, we now have online photo exhibit using many of our photos. These are mostly our group photos. So if you visit miningmuseum.org, Men in the Mines, Kim curated this, and then we've put a lot of work in formatting it. That's up on our website right now. Our next one will come up, I think, probably in July. It'll be a series of online exhibits on head frames. So be sure to follow us. We're trying to share with everybody who can get online and those that can't get here. We actually had a kid from Chinook today calling that head frame a tower. So I had to make sure to correct him before I went on his tour. Some of the activities coming up, just so you know, Miners Union Day, it's free admission day, come visit. Butte the Bold. Butte the Bold is a play that was written by Randy Wedlake. She's a Butte native, loves Butte history. She wrote this last year. We did it last year, the Thursday before Folk Festival. John Amy was our star. Father Beretta was in it. He'll be returning one night of the 2 nights. We'll be performing it at the Cove Light. Tickets are on sale on the Cove Light website. You'll want to be sure to catch one of those nights. It was a volunteer production by a lot of people in Butte that put in hours and hours and hours and hours that everybody was excited to return. We are looking for a few cast members, but practices start tomorrow. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a fundraiser for the museum, and again, it was an all-volunteer production, and the hours that these people put into this were just incredible. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't quite finish that, did I? July 26th, we have a paranormal overnight. It'll be the only one of the season, most likely. If you're into the paranormal, come visit the spirits. Returning for a 3rd season is the Big Butte Brew Fest. That is a whole lot of fun. Come have some spirits, both beer and distilleries and cider. There's live music. You get to explore the museum. It's been a lot of fun the past few years. Brings in last year about 600 people. We're hoping to raise that a little bit. And it's just an opportunity to get together. It is not a drunk fest. It is a beer fest. Halfway to St. Patrick's Day, we have no plans yet, but something will come together. The bagpipers come back every year, so the bagpipers will be on top of the head frame. And then, of course, National Miners Day, December 6th. It's the day of the Christmas stroll, so we have to get unique. If anybody has any ideas, please come call me. But that's this year. But a few of the projects that we're working on this year, raising funds for St. Patrick's Mission. I've been talking about this for a while. This wall over on the side over here, you can't see it in this picture, is really wonky. We have to lift the church, replace the foundation, put it back down, and fix the wall. I do have a grant out there that'll be decided during the legislative year, but we may actually be looking at raising that church and doing that foundation this summer. Because we've just kind of reallocated some of our funds. Follow us on social media, there'll be information. If you went to this church, if you want to contribute to this, we are raising funds for this church as well as a few other projects. But this is one of the important things. Before we lose the church, we want to fix the church. Durant Railway Station. We're going to submit a permit today to move this. It'll still be on site. We're moving it because we are planning to hopefully go out to bid for subcontractors for the Mining Heritage Center, and this needs to be moved. So we're going out to permit, hopefully to apply for the permit today and get this moved. It'll be moved, I'll show you here in a second. Actually, I forgot I have that slide on here. So if you look, right now this is where the Durant is. So this right here is the gift shop, and the Durant is right there. The Mining Heritage Center will take this whole area over here eventually. The phase that we're working on goes to right here, so you can see where the Durant's going to be in the way. So we're going to move it over here. Right here, if you know the museum, is the path to the underground. So we're going to put it right here, use it as a secondary stage. It was approved at our annual meeting last Thursday to place it there. The foundation work will all be done by volunteer work as well as our maintenance person, Michael. And Tam and Eddie, the only house mover in town, will, will move the ramp for us. Kim is currently making sure that all the artifacts are cataloged and safe, and she'll make sure to do that. So if you do foundations, give me a call. We're just waiting for the permit. Well, we have to submit the permit. And there's a picture of the location. So right where this is right in here, we have to clean up this area here. Of course, we'll have to move this, and right here is where the durant will go. It's almost a more appropriate place where it's going. So we're excited about that. Heritage Center Gateway, again, we're moving the durant because of the Heritage Center Gateway. We have the final designs to go out to bid. We're not ready to go out to bid yet. We still have some fundraising to do. But it'll be the Learning Center as well as a conference room. This gate here looks out, as you can see, to the Orphan Girl. And so that's our next step. We just finalized those designs. We were hoping to go out to bid this month, but it's going to be delayed a little bit because of funding. But here's some of the pretty pictures that go with it. This is inside the classroom. These are both of the classroom learning center. It'll be a great addition to bring back that education program that I was talking about earlier. And then this is an older picture of the conference room, but this will sit up to 70 people, which means standing room for cocktail parties and such will be more. It'll have exhibit space. Once this is built, it'll temporarily be the gift shop, but we'll be able to easily transform it into a conference center. There are several people that I've approached to that are excited that we have another smaller area for conferences in Butte, because we are lacking, so we do lose some conferences in Butte. So it's not only for our economic development, but it's for Butte's economic development. Plus it'll have bathrooms that I don't have to walk to in the winter. Another thing coming, we've started work on it. Thank you to Dick Anderson Construction, Montana Tech AGC, and Montana Tech Mining Department. This used to be a garage door. They framed that in for us. We're waiting for the electrician to come in and put some electricity in here. We'll put a new door in here. We've been talking about it for a while, but it's a service member appreciation exhibit. It'll be for all branches of the service, starting in the Spanish-American War through current. We have several donations, always looking for more donations of artifacts, but we're hoping to have this open by, I think it's August 28th. Which wall is it? There's a wall coming into town. We haven't advertised it a whole lot, but we're having it. You'll start seeing that soon because things have been finalized. It was up in the Flathead a few years ago, but we're excited about that. We're hoping to have this open at that time. So the reason why I'm here, next year, 2025, July 18th is 60 years from our official opening. Now, of course, the idea of the museum started earlier, in about 1963. The land was donated to us in 1964, but we officially opened July 18th, 1965. So one of the projects we've been looking on, and this is where I need your participation, so wake up and start thinking. We had some amazing pictures taken by Dr. Tebbets. He was a doctor down in Texas. He's unfortunately passed away. This was a number of years ago that these pictures were taken, but they were taken of the objects that are in the museum. One of the things that we hear a lot when people come in is, I didn't realize you were so much more than an underground tour. We have 22 acres out there. We have that whole replica 1890s mining town. So a majority of these photos are from Hellroaring Gulch. But we're trying to tug at the heartstrings a little bit. We're trying to bring back some memories. So as we go through here, I'm not even going to tell you what these photos are, partially because a couple of them I don't even know. I randomly selected, we have about 120 photos that we've selected to put into a publication that our team's working on. And we're working on trying to get some of the verbiage to go with it. It's mostly going to be a picture book. So I'm going to go through, I have about 14 pictures here or so. If you guys have a story to share, or if you want to talk about that photo a little bit, I ask that you share that, okay? So, here we go. Photo 1. This is St. Patrick's Church. This is the church that needs some TLC. Any comments, any thoughts? This church is now over 100 years old. I think she's 102 now. Which brings me to one other thing while we're sitting here and you guys are looking at this for a moment. We are working, Kim, with Kate McCourt, our Butte Historic Preservation Officer. So many of our buildings will have been sitting in place for 50 years that we are now working on trying to get the museum on the National Registry. It's a couple-year process because we need to kind of inventory all of our buildings and everything. Yes?
Where was that located?
This was in Browns Gulch.
Oh, well, that's right.
Mhm. Yep, this was in Browns Gulch. And so that's actually an organ with a mirror looking back at the altar. So, the one church that needs some TLC. That project's only about $200,000. So this represents the Chinese, one of the Chinese. Like I said, I randomly went through and selected the photos that we picked from and put them up and didn't even really pay attention to what I did. Mostly just to show you the random selection of photos that we have. I don't want to curate my favorite. Although a few of my favorites made it. So this is to represent the Chinese laundry. Thoughts and comments? Even about the composition of the photo, because we can still take these photos out if you think it's horrible and we shouldn't have it in there.
Just kind of wonder what's after the end.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's a great question because I have no idea.
Who was he?
Truth, justice, and.
Truth,
Oh.
justice, and
Oh, okay.
we'd have to go to the barbershop to explore that.
What was his relation to the Eagles?
Fraternal Order of Eagles.
So that's an interesting question. I'm glad you brought it up because if you look,
Repeat the question, we couldn't hear it.
what's the representation of the eagle? What's the
No.
question?
That's the Eagles, what do you call it? Fraternal organization.
Oh, the Eagles Fraternal Organization. Yeah. And what's interesting is this is actually in the barbershop. And this wallpaper really threw the team that's putting this together, this wallpaper really threw off the team that's putting this book together. Because we have things that are collected from what, 1860s through 1970s probably. We have objects and artifacts through that whole time period. A lot of them thrown in the same exhibits. And so we're really representing a wide range of time frames. And we have some people that really wanted to stick to one time range, but we can't because of the artifacts that we have. And so it's kind of a hodgepodge. We're trying to date this wallpaper back here because of the eagle, because we don't think that it would have been appropriate for the time period of the barbershop and bathhouse. The other thing that stuck out about this, that a few people wanted to take this photo out, but I fought to keep it. See this number right here? The X967104? That distracted somebody from the photo. Does anybody know what that photo is? Or what that number is? It is, exactly. It's a catalog number. That's how we keep track and that's what we use to put in our system is that. And so we're doing a book about the museum. This isn't about history. This is a book representing the museum. And so that's why I fought to keep that in there because it gives us an opportunity to tell that story.
Got a story about that.
Yeah.
My great uncle was the state president of the Eagles organization
Okay.
in the middle of the Depression.
Okay.
And they gave him this big diamond ring. It's got a 1-carat diamond in it, which I have at home.
Yeah.
It's really neat.
Yeah, that would be pretty neat. And what year did you say that was?
About 32 or 3.
32 or 33?
Yeah.
Excellent. Did you guys hear? Yeah. That's pretty neat.
The rest of the words are liberty. The words are liberty, truth, justice, and equality are the ones that go around it.
And thank you to mining for helping us find that answer.
General,
I'm glad to get that reaction. This one we went back and forth on. We all really liked it because of the composition, and yes, it's a fan. Distinctly Montana, we've pushed it back a little bit. They want to do an article on this publication. And so what I did is I just sent them a link to the file of all the pictures that we've selected. I said, pick your favorites. Shockingly, this was one of their favorites to put in Distinctly Montana. And our committee was a little bit surprised by that, but with your guys' reaction on that, there's a reason why they selected that apparently. I mean, there's not much to say other than it's kind of cool composition. So, and highlights GE and the fan. As you can see through the photos, we've tried really hard to kind of show a representation of everything that's at the museum. I mentioned at the beginning of this that we were trying to show that we're more than just mining, but we do have mining represented in this book. I'm not positive, actually there are 1 or 2 photos that we're about to come to show, but it's not highlighted in this book. It's more of the cultural stuff that's highlighted in the book. And to remind people of their great-grandfather or their grandfather or what their mom or dad did. We were giving this presentation, or not this presentation, but a similar one, and I had a sewing machine up, and somebody remembered delivering papers and going to, where were they going? I can't remember the store they were going to, but whatever store it was had sewing machines all along, and it brought them back to the time when they were delivering papers. So it's been fun to hear some of those stories.
Is that a sextant?
I think so.
What is that?
I think you're right. It's actually, I think it's for navigation, boat navigation. Not exactly sure why we have it or how we have it, but we have it.
Is that an astragal?
It's for surveying, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be surveying. Somebody tried to tell me it was on the boat, and we honestly haven't gone back to look at it. We haven't researched it
I
yet.
don't think it was the ones they use on a boat, kind of like handheld,
Yeah.
you know, so that you could get yeah. So
I know it's-
that's straight out surveying there.
I know it's next to a lot of surveying equipment for sure,
Yeah.
because it's in City Hall, next to your scarecrow.
Is that called an astragal?
It could be. It could be. Honestly, this is one that we have not gone back to double check what it is. And with thousands and thousands of objects, I sure as heck don't know all of them. I wish I did. That's also why we have staff. This is one of the mild ones. We have a few zingers in there. Are you glad you go to the dentist in these days and not back in the early 1900s? These were a lot of fun. For some reason, as we were going through these photos, a lot of photos from the dentist and the doctors kind of made the list, mostly because of the shock value of the photos. So if anybody needs a denture, we have some supplies. Any ideas on this one?
What is it?
It's from the Knights of Pythias.
Oh,
Yep, it's in their collection that we have. They're still active today. I don't think there's an active group in Butte. They're active in Canada, I believe. And so that's one of their emblems.
What is that again?
Knights of Pythias.
Oh, okay.
There were a lot of fraternal groups. They were a fraternal group.
where was their, they were in Butte at one.
They were in Butte at one time, and I don't know where their,
I can't think of where they're,
It was
Building
down
was-
next to the Peking where there isn't anything there anymore.
oh yeah, that's where it was.
Pythian
Yep.
Castle, they called it.
Yep,
It was a
did.
big
I remember
building
that.
with 4 stories, 4-5 stories.
We have a picture of it somewhere, but I never
Yeah.
remember where it was.
Now that you mention.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah. It's got Jim thinking too. Anybody want to rebuild it? Like I said, I know there's some Knights of Pythias still in Canada because I talked to them when we were doing some research a while back. I think this picture actually ended up getting cut from the publication, but I didn't go back and compare because so this is just in the sheriff's office, or the marshal's office.
Picture of the
be neat. Just a picture of the badge.
Just a picture of the badge?
Yeah.
I'm listening to you, Jim. So that's a good idea. That would be fun. Notice what it's a prescription for?
Needle medication.
And you've got
I don't know if you're welcome.
Dr. Griggs' name on there. We have some of the artifacts from Dr. Griggs' family. Obviously, there's one of them, but we have some uniforms and such like that from the family. Guesses? The clues in the background here.
Stacking.
Printing press.
Yes, printing press. Exactly. And this is the printing press that actually Bob Brew used in the 1990s to print pretty much everything that came out of the museum, as well as things for people around town. In 2016 or 17, I'd have to think back, we had a young lady, Krista Carlton, who was in town. She used that for quite a few things. She has now since moved up to Missoula. They've motorized this press, and it still works if anybody's willing to use it. None of us know how to use it. It can't be that hard, and I know that there's a few people in town that know how to use it. I keep hoping Krista would come back and use it. She's been in town a few times, but it's fun to watch. The thing is that it is a little scary because it is motorized. Krista was a little scared of the motor on it because she likes to do it all by hand, because the motor makes it go a little bit faster, and fingers are precious. So that's pretty much the bulk of the photos that I brought today. Actually, that's not true. I have all of the photos on a drive over there. But one of the things is we're in the planning process of the 60th. This is one of the things, is the 60th publication. We are looking for help, not only for the 60th publication, but for planning a big party. I believe the 18th falls on a Saturday next year. July 18th falls on a Saturday. We'd like to plan a lot of events, but we're a very small staff. And our board is getting drowned in fundraising for a new building. So if there's any party planners out there, any people that have ideas, anybody who wants to do some research, please call me. An hour or two of your time would be instrumental in putting this together. The other thing that I forgot to put on here, and I apologize, we have a social media manager that is doing our Facebook and Instagram. She's a tech graduate from geology. She worked at the museum for a short amount of time, and then she went on to get a real job, and is now she has her own social media company. Yes, geologist doing social media. And she's not just doing ours, she's doing a few other organizations in town as well. Jessica Scanlon with Mine Life Media. She has started a series once a week. It just started 2 or 3 weeks ago, because we're about 60 weeks out from our 60th. And so once a week she's doing some sort of story or highlighting a newspaper article of the history of the museum. Again, it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'm going to try to start popping them up on our webpage as well. So if you want to go back and remember, she's doing This Week in History from the World Museum of Mining. Follow us on social media. Come find me, I'll get that information to you. I'll try to get it up on the website, and I'll try to get it shared out there as well. It's been a lot of fun because she did a lot of deep digging to find some of this, and it's stuff that I haven't even seen yet. So you can start getting all that in and getting prepped for the 60th. So you've heard about a few of the projects at the museum. There's still a few more. Of course, there's always cataloging. Jim Cloy and Ted, and now we have Ron. David's there usually at least every Wednesday, if not more, working on projects. We have volunteer groups, both the Exchange Club and the Rotary Club, that comes and does a project. projects. The Exchange Club, of course, was instrumental in starting us, in getting us going. The Rotary Club has been instrumental in getting some of our grounds cleaned up for sure. There's an ongoing project still happening. We actually need some gardeners. If anybody likes gardening and weeding, please come talk to me. With planting. The Miners Memorial, if you guys remember that, that was done back in I think 2006. The trees that were put in there unfortunately got some crazy disease that was killing them off, that was going to kill more of our trees on grounds. So we had to clear out all of the foliage that was in there. And so we got a grant, and we've moved actually a lot of the mining equipment in that area where the foliage is. If you guys have been there and know what I'm talking about. There were some custom-made planters. Jim Murphy made all of them, right? Custom-made planters to put some plants in there, really to honor all of those men that are on our memorial wall. There's also an area when you walk up to St. Helena's Church that they've helped clean up and stabilize a little bit. Jim was just out there. He was working on that a couple weekends ago, wasn't he? Digging and doing something. I was there. It was a Saturday. Doing that work. The Exchange Club comes and usually picks some kind of painting of doing. We have the Butte High History Club that's actually they came and did some cleaning for us the other day. I mentioned the Montana Tech Mining Department as well as the AGC Club came and did some work for us. There's all kinds of projects. We have boardwalks that need to be done. We have the materials, we just need the labor. We have the service member appreciation, that once we get the electrical in, there's drywalling and putting together the exhibits and doing some research on that. There's moving stuff out of the Durant as well as St. Patrick's Church that we need to make sure that we pack those artifacts up correctly, make sure they're cataloged correctly. Kim is taking the opportunity for the Durant to clean up a lot of those artifacts because they've been sitting there for 40 years, getting those cleaned up properly before we put them back in. We're always looking for new interpretation to put up. We have a digital guide that we're looking. I mean, the projects are endless. I could talk for the next hour. And probably continue more from there. So if you're interested in any of that, please get a hold of me. But other ways that you can help. Visiting the museum is huge. Just come see us, see what we're doing. Volunteer. I could go on again forever. Attend events. I gave you the list of many of the events that were happening. There may be more coming. A lot of those are on social media. I put them on events in Butte. Montana Standard picks up some of them. I don't know who's getting the Standard these days. It's a little bit hard to get events through the Standard anymore. Also, if you listen to any of Butte broadcasting stations, our advertisements are usually on there as well. Or call us, or stop by and see what's happening. Attend events, sponsor an event or building, or we're going to start putting out chairs or things such as that. Donate not only funds, but equipment and supplies. We're always looking for paint. Actually, the other night we had somebody, I guess our arch, you know, when you're coming in, well, right now you can't get in through Montana Tech, but when you can again, they have all the roads closed off over there. Getting to the Bureau must be a nightmare. The arch needs some paint, and so we have had somebody the other day donate the paint to us. So we'll be looking for the labor. Of course, we probably need to get a lift for that, so I need to start looking on that. We do have an endowment. Very few people know about the endowment. That's kind of the gift that both gives to you and us as well. We get right now about $8,000 a year off that endowment. There are other places that pay their entire payroll off the endowment. So we have ways to go with that endowment. Our payroll right now is at about $190,000 a year. So that $8,000 doesn't go very far for payroll, but that $8,000 does certainly help. Or spread the word. That's our #1 marketing tool, is spread the word. Send people our way. And when you send people our way, please tell them there's more than just the underground tower. We are so much more, and so many. How many of you guys have been to the museum? Perfect. So you guys know that we have Hell Roaring Gulch, we have the mine yard with thousands and thousands of artifacts, with changes coming all the time. Shoe exhibit opened just a couple years ago. Like I said, the service member appreciation is hopefully opening this year. The Durant's going to be moved, so that's probably going to be all cleaned up and changed around a little bit. We try to bring new things all the time. And I think Any questions?